everyone, I'm Fernanda. If you're in the art community, then you've definitely heard of a month-long art challenge before. There's Mermaid, Huevember, and of course the one I'm doing in this video, Cringetober. This isn't my first time attempting a month-long challenge, however. I participated in Cute Girl-tober back in 2020. Oh, I only got to day 5. Well, then I attempted OC-tober in 2023, which I got to day 18. Okay, not bad. But then last year, I only made it to day 4. Yeah, I don't have the best track record when it comes to these sorts of challenges. But this year's different. For the first time ever, I was actually able to complete a month-long art challenge. Like I mentioned, I've attempted Cute Girl-tober and OC-tober, but since I wasn't able to complete those, I decided to try out a new prompt, which is Cringetober. I mean, come on, Cringetober, it's perfect. Let me make something clear first, however. Although technically you're supposed to be doing a drawing a day for these challenges, I was very lenient and allowed myself to do multiple drawings a day. Look, I got school, I don't always have the time to finish a drawing daily, and so if there were days when I was free and felt motivated to do more than one drawing, then I'd do it. Hopefully that's okay. And one last thing real quick, throughout this challenge, I draw my OCs quite a bit. And something I've forgotten to mention is that their story actually has a name now, which is Out of the Norm. Do y'all like it? Hopefully you do, because I've grown really attached to it. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because I call it that throughout the video, and so to avoid any confusion on what the heck I'm talking about, I thought I'd finally make an announcement on it. I swear I'm gonna make an update video on them one day. But anyways, now that we have all that out of the way, let's get to the drawings, cause there's a lot of them. Day 1 was Overpowered. There were many characters I could have chosen from that fit this prompt, like Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen or Jinwoo from Solo Leveling, but I felt like those were a bit too obvious and I wasn't really interested in drawing any of them, so I went with my goat Saiki. He's extremely overpowered, literally has every single power in existence, but I love how instead of being portrayed in an action or battle setting, that instead is set in a comedic way and as just an average day thing for Saiki. I don't talk about it much, but The Disastrous Life of Saiki K is actually one of my all-time favorite animes, and so I find it surprising that this is only my second time drawing him. My first time was in 2023, which was 2 years ago, can you believe it? So since it had been a while that I've drawn him, I was kind of struggling because I thought it wasn't really looking like him, but I continued anyways. You know, trying to trust the process. And it definitely paid off, because once I got to his little antennas and glasses, it really tied everything together and made him Saiki. Honestly, this whole drawing was a whole trust the process because I just went for it. There was no sketch, no thought behind this, I was just doing whatever. You'll see throughout this video that I end up doing this same just winging it technique for a lot of these drawings. Overall though, I really like the way this turned out, especially the background. I don't know, it just feels kind of really cool and flowy. Day 2's prompt was Weird Colors. I kept it pretty simple with this one. I searched up weird color palettes and just picked one I considered to be the most weird. I'm not trying to say that in a bad way though. These are just colors that I personally wouldn't put together, and so I thought they'd work perfectly for that reason. I decided to draw my OC Daphne, and honestly, I don't think she looks too bad with these colors. It's definitely different, but I think these colors kind of work on her in a weird way. Not much to say about this one, it's pretty simple, but I really like the final results. Day 3 was Chibi art, and I was very excited about it. I've been doing Chibi art of my OCs, and so this was a perfect way to continue doing that while still participating in Cringetober. I chose to do my OC Nadine because I feel like I don't draw her a lot even though she's such a cutie. I'm not sure if I mentioned this in my OC lore video, but Nadine is a huge nerd and is low-key kinda cringe. She's me for real. But she hides her inner loser and instead portrays herself as just your typical shy, smart girl. And don't get me wrong, she is really shy and smart, but once you get to really know her, you'll see that she's actually a loser. I say that in a loving way though. It's okay, we're all cringe but free. She'd definitely be the type of girl to self-insert herself into shows she likes. Day 4 is Fursona. This was actually my first time ever trying to draw a furry, and so I was pretty nervous if I'd be able to do it. I was originally going to draw myself as a wolf since it was the most common type of furry I'd see, but I really love bears, and so I thought it'd be interesting to try doing that instead. Also, I'm pretty sure that this is actually the first time I've officially drawn a full body of my persona. I don't do that very often, and so that was fun to do. A bear's design's pretty simple, and so I didn't struggle as much as I thought I would, which is why I did 2 drawings for this one. I don't know, I just found myself having a lot of fun with this one more than I expected. I had to draw Bear Chibi again. Day 5, favorite cliche. I of course went with one of my all-time favorite tropes, enemies to lovers. And it definitely wasn't an excuse to draw Nova and Damien. Moving on. Despite this being one of my favorite cliches, I actually didn't know how to draw it. Like, how do I show enemies to lovers in one drawing? I was struggling and I ended up just drawing them annoying each other as always, but with a hint of a little something else in the air. Plus I also added a picture that I feel sums up the relationship perfectly. Now on to day 6, which is musical, baby! I was extremely excited for this one because I love musicals. There were so many options I wanted to do for this day. My top contenders were Hamilton, Heathers, and Epic the Musical. Hamilton was the very first musical I had ever listened to and became obsessed with. And I think Heathers was the second one I had ever heard. And so I get really nostalgic when I listen to those. However, Epic is the most recent musical I've listened to, which I've also become obsessed with and listened to on repeat. So in the end, I chose that one. I chose Cersei for this one because I freaking love all the songs she's in. Well, to be fair, all the songs are amazing, but hers are a personal favorite of mine. The design I'm drawing is by Gigi on YouTube. Their animatics are amazing and I absolutely love their Cersei design. It was actually thanks to my younger sister that I even got into Epic since she loves all things involving Greek mythology. I don't know much about that except for surface level things, but I remember her playing Suffering in the car and my soul just ascended. I had that song on repeat after that, which ended up making me want to watch the whole musical. I don't usually get attached to songs that quickly. Most of the time, I'll have to listen to a song more than once to really become attached. So that's how you know Jorge is a master artist, and I can't wait for Ilium to come out. So here's a fun fact that I don't think many of you guys know about. I freaking love My Hero Academia. I don't think I've ever talked about it in this channel, and that's because although I absolutely love this anime, I had actually stopped keeping up with it after like season 5. And so I wasn't really in the fandom anymore. But now that the last season is coming out, I locked in and decided to binge watch it. And guys, I'm obsessed with it again. My Hero was the very first anime I watched in 2018. Guys, that was 7 years ago. I was 13. What the fuck? And so it's very safe to say that this anime has a very, very special place in my heart. I know My Hero might not be everyone's favorite anime, especially because of the fandom, but I love it. And so now that this anime is taking over my life again, I decided that since day 6 was anime, that I'd take the opportunity to draw my favorite character, Todoroki. I know it might be considered a basic or overrated answer, but I don't care. I love him. I wanted to do a lot more with this drawing, but for some reason I was struggling. I was hating all the sketches I tried out and was slowly getting really frustrated with myself. And so although I had a lot of ideas I wanted to try out, I settled for just a headshot because it was just more manageable for myself. I still really love the coloring I did for this one though, so I'm not too mad at it. Day 8 was core aesthetic. So for this one, there were a lot of options I could do for this. There was cottagecore, indie kid, coquette, the list goes on and on. But I decided to do e-girl. I'm not sure if this really counts as a core aesthetic, but I really wanted to do this one because this was a type of fashion I wanted to wear during 2020. I never did though. I tried it, but it just didn't look good on me. Anyways, I wanted to go back to drawing go-sees, and so I drew Melanie. Realistically, I don't think she'd ever wear this type of fashion, but it was really fun to see her in it. I really wanted to do a full body drawing of this one to really show more of the outfit, but guys, I was feeling extremely burnt out throughout this drawing. And it was only day 8. I have like 5 failed attempts at this, which was getting me really frustrated. I knew what I wanted to draw and I wanted to draw it, but I just couldn't. And so this one turned out more simple than I wanted, but I did add a border on it, which I found on Pinterest that I thought matched the vibe pretty well. Day 9 was indie game. I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't looking too forward to this one since I'm not really a gamer, and so my original plan was to do something Friday Night Funkin' related. However, I was on TikTok and saw a video by Zima777 of Anya from mouthwashing, which had me shook. I know I'm pretty late to the mouthwashing hype, but I still want to talk about it because I love it. The TikTok that got me interested in it was basically an alternate universe where things play out differently than from the original game. And oh my gosh, it was so good. Please watch it. I had already heard about mouthwashing before since it had become really popular online, but I just never got around to watching a gameplay of it until I saw that TikTok, of course. And so I went onto YouTube and just searched up mouthwashing to see a gameplay of it and saw that the Cub Scouts had done a video on it. What? I freaking love his videos, so I don't know how I didn't see this sooner, but either way, I buckled up and watched his video on it. By the end of it, I 100% understood the hype behind it. It's such an amazing game. It's horror, but not like in a jump scare type of way, more in a psychological way, which I personally don't see much of, but oh my gosh, I should really get into it because this game got me so interested in the story and especially the characters. I decided to draw Anya for this prompt because she along with Daisuke are my favorites, but sadly I'm not too proud of this one. Like I mentioned in the last prompt, I was feeling pretty burnt out, and so this one just ended up looking pretty meh to me. I definitely want to draw her again though. Day 10, Unnecessarily Complex. I took this day as drawing an over-the-top character's design, and the first thing that came to my mind was Genshin Designs. I was a huge Genshin fan a few years ago, like a really big fan. I spent quite a bit on it, but you know what? I was having a lot of fun, and at the end of the day, I don't regret it. I don't play Genshin anymore, but that's only because my phone couldn't take it anymore. It was taking up a lot of my storage, and my phone would overheat every time I would play. And so I had to delete it. I'd like to pick it up again one day, but I stopped around the time Sumeru had released, and so I am very behind. Genshin Designs are known to have a lot of detail, and so I chose one of my favorite characters, Zhao. When I first picked him though, I didn't think he was too complex, but once I started drawing him, I realized I was so wrong. He has a lot of tiny details that I didn't notice at first glance, and that's with me not even drawing his full body. And so I kept the coloring really simple on this one, but even though it's simple, I really like the finished result of it. It was a lot of fun drawing Genshin again after some time. So I think I technically did this day wrong. Day 11's prompt was crossover, and so I wanted to draw my OCs in the My Hero Academia universe. But I feel like since the prompt was crossover that I should have technically drawn my OCs with a character from the show. But I didn't even think about that and just got excited to draw them with the UA uniform. Hopefully you still get the idea though. I'm sorry. If I would have drawn my OCs interacting with a character from the show though, I probably would have done Nova with Monoma since they both have copy abilities, and I think that'd make for a pretty fun interaction. However, I ended up drawing Nova and Damien because they're my favorite losers. This one's probably one of the simplest ones I've done so far, but we're on a tight schedule here, so it's okay. Small side note, as of the time of me writing this script, Roderick x Regina George has started taking over the internet. I can't escape them. And so if I would have known about this ship during this time, I would have definitely liked to draw them instead because they're actually really cute. It's Jack Frost x Elsa all over again. I love it. Day 12 was Vocaloid, and so you know I had to do the queen herself, Hatsune Miku. I mean, the world is hers. I won't lie though, I really wanted to draw Len Ren first, but I just had the urge to draw Miku more, and so I had to draw her. I wanted to draw a more dynamic pose for this one, however. I wanted to try experimenting more with perspective, and so I got a reference from Pinterest and tried replicating it. Do I think I executed the perspective part of it? Not really, but an attempt was made, so at least I tried. Also, the last time I drew Miku was around 5 months ago, and I was really surprised to see the difference between them. My art style always feels the same to me, but dang, seeing these two side by side made me realize that my art is definitely changing, which I love to see. Day 13 is animal traits. I guess you can say this one's pretty similar to the Fursona one, but instead of being an anthropomorphic animal, it leans more into the human side of it. I drew my OC Nadine for this one with deer traits since that's the animal I see her as. I was just really looking forward to drawing antlers on her, but while I was googling deer references, I learned that apparently female deers don't have them. So sadly, I couldn't draw her with them, but I still think she turned out really cute. This one was kind of a struggle, not drawing wise, but more of the fact that I cannot remember who my very first OC was. I made a lot of OCs when I was younger, but many of them did not last. Not to mention that I drew most of these traditionally, so over the years I lost a few drawings I had of them. Which I guess doesn't really matter though, since I wouldn't really consider most of them OCs anyways, since they didn't last more than one drawing. So instead, I decided to draw the oldest OC I had actual proof of, and that had a bit of a story to her. Her name was Crimson, and I'm almost positive that she had super strength. Can you tell I love giving my OCs powers? I'm also pretty sure that she had to hide her powers for some reason, but eventually meets other people with powers too. Is this sounding a little familiar to anyone else? As you can tell, I really like this concept, and the idea never really left my mind. Well, to be fair, the idea is not all that original, but either way, I guess you could say this was out of the norm before it became out of the norm. Day 15, first attempt. Basically, trying something new for the first time. There's a lot of things I haven't tried out yet, but for the sake of time, I went with something I consider to be pretty simple. Pixel art. I had never tried it out before, but really wanted to get into it since I think it's just the cutest thing ever. But I definitely underestimated how much detail goes into this. Like, if you place a pixel in the wrong spot, it could completely throw off the whole piece. Everything has to be done just right, which is something I kinda love about it. What can I say? I love how satisfying it is to see everything come together. I had a blast with this one. I definitely want to make more pixel art in the future, so don't be surprised if you see more of it from me. So day 16 was Reclaimed Insecurity, which I ended up skipping. I'm not trying to say that I don't have insecurities because I definitely do, but I just didn't know what to draw for this one, and I kinda didn't want my insecurities out on the internet, so I just used it as a free day. Sorry. Let's move on to day 17 though, shall we? This one's self-shipped / OCX canon. I knew I didn't want to draw any of my OCs for this one since most of them already have their set partners. So then I was left with only one option, having to draw myself shipped with a fictional character. I had actually never done this before since I don't really ship myself with anyone, but since it was for the prompt, I went ahead and chose Sanji. Teehee! It was either between him or Robin, but I feel like realistically, I'd have a better chance with Sanji. Wait, why am I even thinking realistically about this? I should have just drawn me with both of them, fuck! Moving on. I'm sadly not the proudest of this one. It was very fun and self-indulgent, but I wish I would have executed it better. I don't know, maybe it's the poses, but it just feels odd to me. This is what I get for only choosing one of them. Day 18 was Alternate Universe. I was very excited for this one because I knew exactly what I wanted to do. A 1980s AU. Other than early 2000s fashion, I'm also a huge fan of 1980s clothing as well. And so I thought it'd be fun to draw one of my most recent OCs that I've created in this style, which was Hana. I looked on Pinterest for inspiration and there were so many cute outfits I wanted to try out, and so I just chose aspects from ones I thought would fit Hana the best. I really like how this one turned out, and I really want to see the rest of my OCs in this fashion, so look out for that. I feel like the background I chose also ties everything together really nicely. I just switched up 1980s background and boom, there it was. I'm so proud of this one. She just looks so cutesy. If Out of the Norm was set in the 1980s instead of 2005 though, I feel like things wouldn't change all that much, honestly. I mean, maybe things relationship-wise would be harder for some of them, but plot-wise, it stayed pretty much the same. Day 19, Meme Redraw. I love meme redraws, especially with my OC, so of course I did it with them. Are we even surprised? There's been this meme going around on Twitter that I thought would be perfect for Jax and Melanie. I mean, it's literally them. There were a lot of memes I had in mind for this prompt, but since this one was trending pretty recently, I thought it'd be a good one to do since it's still fresh in people's minds. This one's pretty simple, but what can I say? I love these two. Day 20 was Picrew, which was a nice easy day for me. I went onto Picrew and tried recreating some of my OCs with them. I'll leave links to both Picrews I tried in the description below, by the way. I'd honestly love to make a Picrew of my own one day, and it's a video idea I've had floating around in my head ever since I saw Lavender Towns. So let me know if you'd be interested in watching that. I love trying out Picrews, they're always a lot of fun. The first one I tried replicating Damien with didn't end up really looking like him, which is of course expected. These are just for fun and they're not always going to have the exact things you need. I just find it funny because the end result just looks like an alpha Giga Chat version of Damien. The next one I tried, however, was definitely more on the cutesy side, where I recreated both Nadine and Melanie since this one had a lot of options to choose from. I really loved this one and have so much respect for the creator because they have a lot to choose from, which couldn't have been easy to do. You should definitely check these out if you have the time, they're a lot of fun. Day 21 was Animatic, which again, I'm definitely no stranger to. I mean, that's literally how I got started with this channel in the first place. I don't do them as much anymore since I've really grown to love the art commentary videos, but I'll still do them from time to time when the inspiration hits. I don't know if I'd count the one I'm doing for this day as an animatic to be exact though. It's more of an animation meme. I'm drawing Toga from My Hero Academia to the song Just Be Competent, which is a trend that I've seen people doing lately that I thought would be perfect for her. And since I'm on a tight schedule here, I thought this would be great since I'm currently going through my MHA phase, but also because from what I've seen, the animatic didn't look like it needed too many drawings. Most people would do a loop of the person prancing around or swinging their arms, which is what I did. Thankfully, I was able to finish this in a day, which was my goal, but it took me the whole day to do. I'm not the best at animating, I prefer tweening because I feel like the end results usually turn out better for me, which is ironic since I'm literally majoring in animation. And so this took me a while to figure out. But hey, I'm still learning and in the end, I'm pretty proud of it. I'll just try my best to keep improving each and every day. Day 22 was Art Style Experiment. I've dabbled my hand in a few art style challenges before, but a lot of those are me replicating other art styles. I didn't want to do that for this one and instead just tried something random with my art, which I don't think I succeeded in. I wanted a cartoony look, but since I feel like my art style is already pretty cartoony, that it just ended up looking like my same art style but just more chibi. If I were to do this again, I'd definitely go in a different direction and maybe try doing a more sharp art style with less saturated colors. Like the evil art style trend that was going around a few years back. As much as I think this was a fail, it was a nice way to fully come up with my Sona's design though. As you can tell from the new sprites, I tweaked her design a bit. It's not that big of a difference, but I love her. I've been wanting to rebrand my channel and was going to do it after the new year, but I'm too impatient, so I just went ahead and did it now, which I hope y'all like. Day 23 Soulmates. Once I saw the prompt to this day, I knew exactly who I wanted to draw. My OCs, Sam and Nadine. If you didn't watch my video where I first introduced Sam, I'll go ahead and give you a small summary of his and Nadine's relationship. They were a couple a little bit before Damien transferred, but as of now, during the present time the story takes place, they are broken up. They had a complicated breakup and both still care about each other, but Nadine ended up breaking their relationship because she didn't like the way Sam acted like a completely different person when he was around his quote-unquote friends. Sam's friends weren't the nicest people to be around, but Sam didn't want to cut them off since they were all part of the football team, and despite them not being the best of people, he holds on to the few good memories he has of them. Sam and Nadine are still friends, but those feelings of something more are still lingering, which is why for my drawing I wanted to play with the red string of fate trope. I'm not the proudest of how this one turned out, but I really like the concept of it, which I'd like to redraw one day. Day 24 was character redesign, which again, I'm no stranger to. I mean, I literally just redesigned the Wings Club girls a few videos back. My original idea for this one was to redesign some of my OCs, but I ended up not doing that because these OCs aren't part of the Out of the Norm universe. They have their own separate story that I'm currently trying to figure out, which is kind of the reason for why I didn't redesign them, since this story is a bit more complex and needs way more world building than Out of the Norm. I wanted to have more of the story set before redesigning them, and so now I was left with nothing. Winx was the only thing at the time that I wanted to redesign, and I'm gonna be honest, I was thinking of just reusing one of the speed paints from that video, but I didn't. I had already used day 16 as a free day, and so I didn't want to skip anymore. While looking at some old sketches, however, I saw that I did in fact have something else to redesign. If you love consuming art redesign videos, then you've definitely seen My Little Pony Equestria Girls redesigns. I saw them too and was actually going to do a video redesigning the main 6. I ended up giving up on that video though, only doing Twilight, Fluttershy, and Pinkie Pie, but since I already had the concept art of those, I decided to choose one of those designs and tweak it a little bit. I chose Twilight because hers was one I was really proud of at the time. It isn't anything original. I feel like a lot of Twilight redesigns follow the same academia theme, but you know, I still really like it. Maybe someday I'll actually do the Equestria Girls redesign video. Now on to day 25, which was Fate Game Screenshot. I didn't really know what kind of scene I wanted to show for this one, and a part of me didn't think it turned out all that good in the end anyways, but guys, this one might be one of my favorite drawings I've done throughout this challenge. So like I said, I didn't really know how to make this look like a game screenshot, and so I just started searching up games and seeing if any of them inspired me. Dating sims were something that would constantly pop up, but I didn't really want to do that, but I do really like the format a lot of them are in, and so I took inspiration from that. For the premise of this hypothetical game, however, I thought it'd be fun to do like a POV type game. Like if you, the viewer, were a student at Wrightwoods High School. Yes, that's what the W stands for. But honestly, I might change it because I didn't know that Wrightwoods was a real place in California. I thought I genuinely came up with a random name, but I guess I didn't. I swear I didn't know it was a real place. But that's for a whole other video. Back to the drawing. I was originally gonna draw the viewer meeting Damien, but I just could not draw him for some reason. I was having a really hard time drawing him, and so what do I do when I can't draw something? I draw Daphne. I changed the interaction to be the viewer seeing Daphne for the first time. I really started liking this concept, and so I started putting 100% of my effort into this. As you saw in the last prompts, I kept the backgrounds really simple and would sometimes just get a picture from Pinterest and use that like in the Soulmates day. For this one, however, I wanted to actually draw the background myself. I did heavily reference it from this picture from Pinterest though, but I am so happy with how this one turned out. Like I said, this one might be my favorite of this challenge. Guilty pleasure media. So from my understanding, guilty pleasure media is something you like that most people would consider cringe. I like a lot of quote-unquote cringy things, and so I definitely had options, but the first one that came to my mind was Five Nights at Freddy's High School. I've already talked a lot about this series in my 10 art styles video, so I won't say too much about it. My favorite character from both the game and the series was Mangle, but I decided to draw Fred and Freddy since I think they were the most interesting characters from the series. I do wish I would have done a more dynamic pose for them though. I feel like Freddy turned out looking pretty stiff, if that makes sense, but I don't hate it, and overall I had a lot of fun drawing these guys. Makes me want to draw the rest of the cast. Day 27 was Gijinka. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Gijinka is turning something non-human into a human. Pretty simple. For this one, I drew Gumball and Darwin from the Amazing World of Gumball. They count, right? I love this show and had a lot of fun coming up with the human designs for them. They're pretty simple, but I mean, original Gumball and Darwin are also pretty simple to begin with, so it's okay. Also, I don't know if it's noticeable, but I made Gumball's hair kind of resemble the shape of cat ears. Hopefully you see it. And as for Darwin, I just gave him a fish hoodie to tie back to him being a fish. These designs aren't anything special, but I still really like them. Day 28 was Kids Show. Technically, I could have done this and Day 27 together since The Amazing World of Gumball is a kids show, but I really wanted an excuse to draw one of my favorite shows as a kid, Lolly Rock. They were my huntrix. Lolly Rock is a magical girl show which revolves around the main character Iris, who discovers that she actually has magical powers and is a princess from a kingdom that was taken over by a dark ruler, Lord Greymore. She isn't the one I'm drawing though. I'm drawing Talia, who is also one of the main characters, along with another girl called Ariana. They all form a girl group and work together to collect Oracle Gems in order to restore Iris's home. I've always loved Talia's design, and she's voiced by Rainbow Dash's and Applejack's voice actress, which makes her even cooler. I was obsessed with Lolly Rock and all the songs were bangers, I tell you. The show ended off in a cliffhanger which absolutely killed me, but a third season was confirmed during 2023, so all we have to do now is just wait for it to come back. Day 29 was Clown. I drew my OC Jackson for this one, but made him a killer clown just cause I thought it fit the Halloween vibe more. I'm also counting this as his costume for this year since I didn't get the chance to draw costumes for all of my OCs. This one gives me flashbacks to the whole killer clown craze during 2016. Do y'all remember that? I was one of those terrified kids who refused to walk home from school without my older cousin accompanying me. I would always fall for those killer clown sighting videos on YouTube that were clearly fake, but I was a really dumb, gullible kid, so they always scared the shit out of me. But yeah, this one's pretty simple, but I actually really like it. Now onto Day 30. We're almost there, guys. We're so close. Day 30 was Creepypasta, and speaking of me being a really dumb and gullible kid, one creepypasta that had me terrified was Slenderman. My sister and I were huge scaredy cats, which was amusing to our cousins. The back of their house led to a small patch of woods, and I remember one time they decided to play a prank on my sister and me by hanging up the notes you'd see in Slenderman. They showed it to us, insisting that Slenderman was real, and we started crying to the adults. Like I said, we were very gullible. Aside from Slenderman though, I'm not really knowledgeable about other creepypastas. I know about the common ones like Jeff the Killer and Smile Dog, but I don't really know their lore, I guess you could say. So I just stuck with the one I know best, Slenderman. I wanted to draw something creepy, but I don't think he ended up looking scary at all. He's just kind of there like, oh well, I tried. And finally, on to Day 31, aka the last day, Halloween! I really didn't think I'd make it this far, but hey, anything is possible when you put your mind to it. I really wanted to draw my OCs in costumes for this one, but I suck at drawing group poses, so I just stuck with the main four, Melanie, Nova, Damien, and Daphne. Which was still hard to do, by the way. I drew them all in costumes I thought they'd wear. Melanie's dressed up as Starfire from Teen Titans, Nova's a devil, Damien's Jason Voorhees, and Daphne's a ghost. Duh! I like to imagine that Daphne would say those cheesy jokes to Damien like, ooh, look out Damien, there's a ghost coming for you. While Damien just looks at her unamused. But he secretly finds it funny, he just has too high of an ego to admit it. I wish I could have drawn the rest of my OCs in costumes, but there's no way I would have been able to fit them all into one drawing, so hopefully next year. And I'm done. I'm super happy and proud of myself for being able to finish Cringetober. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I've always made an attempt to complete this challenge with no success, so I'm happy to have finally been able to do that today. Will I try this again next year? Who knows? Cause this took up a lot of my time, but it was still a lot of fun, so I don't regret it. Let me know if any of you guys have attempted a month-long challenge before and if you were successful. If you watched until the end, thank you so much. This is probably one of the longest videos I've posted, so I'm genuinely really thankful for you watching. I hope you enjoyed this spooky video, and as always, I hope you have a great day.